Did you know you can buy a home and finance the renovations all in one loan? Well, in today's video, I'm here talking with Kyle Kruso from Legacy Mortgage about the FHA 203K loan, a powerful option for buyers who aren't afraid to put in a little sweat equity. So, again, I'm happy to have you here, Kyle. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Happy to be here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Had a great weekend.
Good, good. Hopefully staying cool.
Oh, trying my best. So today we're talking about the FHA 203K loan. And so we're going to just do the question answer style like we've been doing.
Yeah,
We'll get going.
absolutely. That sounds awesome.
All right. So what exactly is the FHA 203K loan and how does it differ from the traditional FHA?
So FHA 203K, it's an amazing product, definitely underutilized in our areas, in all areas, but the FHA 203K loan just allows a buyer to get a loan to purchase the house as well as finance for necessary and needed wanted repairs. So that's the difference between FHA. The home does have to be move-in ready. They're gonna let's say a house that has like chipped or peeling paint, or they got some holes in the roof or siding, or there's some structural issues. A lot of times FHA, they're going to say these have to be fixed prior to the closing of the loan, and either the seller is not going to do that, or they're going to be too large for a buyer to handle on their own. So FHA 203 comes in and allows you to finance the home, like I said, and get those repairs taken care of. So that's the biggest difference, I would say.
Okay. That's a good that's a good benefit.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, who is the ideal client for a 203K loan? Are there income or credit score requirements that go along
Yeah,
with that?
yep. So the ideal candidate that's going to be looking for a loan like this are going to be people that, like you said, aren't afraid to get a little sweat equity in there. But the biggest thing is a lot of these people are going to be competing with a lot of buyers out there for homes that they need in a certain price range, and that price range might be too high for that person. So what that does, it allows them to come down as far as the purchase price is concerned, and maybe a little bit less competition because these houses, they do need special financing. So if they can do that, they can open up a lot more doors to get houses that are going to meet their family needs, like size and location, but allow them to actually do the work to the house and make it. They say they're looking at a $300,000 house, but they can't afford it, or there's too much competition. They come down to a maybe like 175, $200,000 house that needs work, and then bam, they do the work, and that's the house is perfect for them. So I would say that's the ideal candidate. As far as credit score goes, the FHA 203K goes sometimes as low as 500 on a credit score. So obviously there's a lot of options for people out there, and you know, never think like we say before on these videos. Don't just think that you can't do it. Just you always want to give it a shot first. So reach out to artists to see a house. Reach out to me, and obviously we'll see if you're eligible for that.
For sure, because a lot of the times, we have some buyers out in the market right now that are searching with the FHA loan. And when you have those turnkey homes that are just beautiful and
Yep,
coming in, a lot of times they're getting multiple offers and it's hard to turn down a cash or conventional loan. So
100%.
the homes that are sitting are the ones that do need a little bit of work. So if you have a little time and can put that work in, this could be a big benefit to you.
Absolutely.
What type of homes qualify for a 203K loan? Can it be used on foreclosure or older homes?
All the above. So basically, as far as a foreclosure goes, that's a good candidate as well, because even if the house is in decent condition and there might just be some minor repairs, if it's a foreclosure, like bank owned home, they won't do those repairs. So definitely good on a foreclosure. Definitely good for older homes that might have some structural issues as well that need to be cured. That is just going to be too much to come out of pocket for a normal buyer. And but yeah, I'd say definitely foreclosure, definitely older homes. There's really not a whole lot that doesn't qualify for a 203K loan.
Okay. Um, how much can buyers borrow for renovations, and are there a minimum or maximum repair costs?
Yes. So there's two different kinds of 203K loans. You have a limited, and then you have a standard. So with the limited, they can only go up to about $75,000, and then with the standard, they have to be at least $5,000 minimum repairs, but they can obviously go up much higher than 75,000. So as far as those two go, I mean, they really both do the same things. The biggest difference between like a standard 203K loan and a limited especially if you're getting above that 75,000, you will need a HUD consultant, and we'll get into what that entails here in a little bit on some of these questions. Um, and then the standard, they can, if approved up front, can kind of do some additions to the house as well. A lot of those 203K loans don't do that, but standard allows it as long as it's approved up front, with the lender and the broker.
Okay. I mean, 75K is a lot of money to get.
Yeah, you can do a lot.
Um, how does the process work from offer to renovation completion when using the 203K loan?
So how it kind of works is, obviously, let's say, you have a buyer and you guys identify a home, and it's like, okay, definitely gonna need some work here. I want these things done. So you kind of identify some of the stuff you want up front there. And then you're going to be submitting the offer with the other agent there, saying that, hey, this is 203K financing. The biggest thing I can tell is just, we're pretty quick on these. It just depends on the lender, but typical is about 60 days, I would say, from start to finish. And then the biggest thing is, what when you want to do up front is, once you get that offer accepted, you want to make sure you have a contractor in mind already, and you want to get that contractor out there to start submitting the bids, so that we can submit that to the lender, and we can get the appraisal ordered, because the appraisal is going to be ordered based on what their necessary repairs are going to be completed. That's how they're going to determine the value of the house. So that's another cool thing about 203K loan as well. It's not just what the house is right now, it's what it's going to be when those repairs happen. So but yeah, like I said, about 60 days or so. And then, looking further, just, the home repairs do need to begin within 30 days of the closing, and they just must be completed within 6 months of that closing date. So you've got a little bit of time.
Okay, cool. What role does the whole HUD, I'm sorry, what role does the HUD consultant play in the loan process, and when is one required?
All right. So the one is required once the repairs are going to be over 75,000. So anything under 75,000, you just need a general contractor. But the HUD consultant really is just like a liaison between, the borrower, the lender, and the contractor, doing smooth, like, to ensure a smooth, like, renovation process, and that all the renovations that meet HUD and FHA standards. So they'll come out there and do like an initial site visit, and they'll inspect it to say, hey, these are going to be necessary to what FHA and HUD require. And then they'll obviously also, work up a write up on, what you want done as well, so they can get a list of all the costs there to submit to that lender to, make sure that it's in the value of the house. So short answer is, like I said, they're just going to be kind of making sure it's a smooth process as a liaison between the three parties involved.
Yeah, since it's such a large amount
Yeah, absolutely.
to the home. Okay. What kind of repairs or upgrades can be financed through a 203K loan?
So there's a lot. So like I said, so for the standard, the only one, the difference is like structural alterations and additions with upfront approval. You can't do anything structural alteration or additions with the limited, but a lot of the stuff is, and I don't want to read off a list, but there's so many. But, like, we're talking about upgrading or modernizing like central air heating, or electrical systems as well. Termite or moisture damage, replacing well or septic systems, basement waterproofing, remodeling of the kitchen and bathrooms. You know how expensive that gets. That's a huge one to do. Roofing, gutters, downspouts, flooring, tiling, carpeting, painting interior, exterior. I mean, windows, doors, trim work, energy conservation improvements. I mean, there's a lot that you can do with it, honestly.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. I mean, most of the stuff that, like, the biggest thing is the things you can't do. That's definitely a smaller list, but
Okay.
luxury items such as like swimming pools, hot tubs, tennis courts, gazebos, outdoor kitchens, saunas, you can't really do that. Landscaping that's not permanent. Um, and then obviously, improvements for like business or commercial purposes, you can't do that. And, or improvements that are not permanently attached to the property.
Okay.
So a lot less, than obviously what can be done, but
Yeah.
there's
So no
so
outdoor
much.
pool and grotto for me then.
I know, you have to do that yourself, but I mean, think about how cool it's going to be.
Yes, yes, man. It's a lot. It covers a lot. It sounds like
It
it covers
does.
a lot of the
You
home.
can do so much with it, honestly. And
Yeah.
the cool thing about it is, I mean, a lot of people just like, do the work as you go, like put it on a credit card, or maybe I'll save up for it. With this, it can be done immediately. So
Yeah.
that's the cool thing. Like, you can really have the house of your dreams instead of working at it in the next 5 or 10 years. and getting there, you can do it relatively quickly. And don't forget too, you can refinance and do a 203K loan as well. So it's not just for purchases.
Okay. Yeah. So you can make your turnkey home special for yourself.
Bingo.
Yeah. That sounds great. Well, you answered my next question, so we'll move on.
Hmm.
What kind of down payment is required for the 203K loan?
So down payment is just like your standard FHA. So it'd be 3.5% down. That's also another cool thing with that is, it's low money out of pocket and you're financing for the repairs. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, that's great. Are the interest rates the same or higher than standard FHA?
Slightly higher, but nothing crazy. When you think about the work that's being done on the house, even though it might be a slightly higher interest rate than FHA, you got to think about how much are interest rates on credit cards if you're financing some of the work on that or getting like a HELOC. Those rates are always going to be higher. So in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't make too much of a difference.
Right. You're actually saving money.
Exactly. And you can
Uh,
refinance later down the road once the rates drop too. So
okay. All right. Are there any additional inspections that buyers should be aware of?
so the additional like fees or inspections that wouldn't be on like an FHA loan, like just your standard FHA loan, obviously you're going to have a general contractor, and that can be part. That's all part of the loan money that you get though, so you don't have to come out of pocket for that. The HUD consultant, should one be needed, usually range from, depending on the size of the repairs, a good average would be about 400 on the low end, about 1,000 on the high end for that HUD consultant as part of your closing costs. So those are the two biggest differences. You don't, for a standard FHA loan, obviously you don't need those two things. So really just for the FHA 203K loans, the extra costs come in with the HUD consultant and the general contractor.
So I just want to clear it up. Those are involved with the fees, and that all comes out within the loan, the general
That's correct.
contractor. Okay. So I
That
just
is
want y'all
correct.
to understand that those are extra fees. So all
Mm-hmm.
that's going to come together at
Yep.
the very end. So, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that that makes a whole lot of sense. And like you said, with avoiding you going through your credit cards and you taking all that time to do it over time, little by little, when you can honestly make your own home. That's great.
Exactly.
Um, how can a real estate agent help a buyer through a 203K loan purchase?
The biggest one is, just kind of set realistic expectations for timeline. Um, because there are a lot of extra hoops that we have to jump through, with the HUD consultant or the general contractor and getting the bids. But I mean, the biggest thing is when you're out looking for houses too. If you have a lot of people struggle in certain price ranges, and they can't compete with these buyers. So some of these houses are sitting, they're as is, but they're sitting for so long, and there's just a lot of them out there. So it really, I would say, take them to go look at those houses and get with your lender before and make sure they're going to be eligible for a 203K loan. But I would say those are the two biggest things: is set a clear time frame, and get with the lender up front and say, hey, are these guys eligible for a 203K loan? Is it going to work? And that's just going to open up a lot of doors for you guys on what houses you're looking at.
For sure, for sure. Um, what are some common mistakes or misconceptions buyers have about the loan?
So again, this goes for a lot of these things, but a lot of people think this is only for first time home buyers. Definitely, while it's popular with first time home buyers, you can have owned many homes in the past and still qualify for a 203K loan. We talked about it a little bit, but like, I need perfect credit for this. Again, they go down to sometimes as low as 500.
Right.
So you don't need perfect credit. One thing I do want to reiterate too, and this is a misconception, is uh, people think, oh, I can cut some costs by doing some of this stuff myself. This, you cannot do any of the work yourself whatsoever. It's got to be done by that general contractor, and it can't be someone that you're related to. It's got to be completely a non arm's length transaction there for that. And like I said, just one general contractor there. So you just can't do the stuff yourself. After everything's done, if you want to do after that, everything's closed, other repairs are done. Outside of that 6 months, and you want to change the paint or do anything else, that's totally fine. But inside that 6 months, only the general contractor.
Yeah,
Um, a lot of people say the loan takes too long to close. It really depends on if you're working with a lender that is going to be familiar with the process and what brokers they're working with. Like I said, it can be done within 45 to 60 days. So not much longer than a standard FHA loan.
hmm,
And the last one I'll go over to is like sellers won't accept FHA 203K loans, which if again they have a house that's going to be sold as is, or there's some big issues, the FHA 203K loan is their only option, or cash. But a lot of the cash buyers, they want something that's going to be a little bit less. All their cash is tied up in buying the house. They don't want to have extra for repairs. So sellers actually like the 203K loan financing if their house needs work and it's as is. So
For
I would
sure.
say those are some big ones.
It sounds like it'll help a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
Do you have any tips for making it a smoother, more streamlined process for buyers?
I said it before, but I'll say it again. The biggest one is have some general contractors in mind. You don't want to be. That's when it starts to get a little bit longer in a process. Is when you don't have that general contractor in mind. And you got to find one after your offer's accepted. That
Hmm.
could be a couple weeks before they come out there and submit that bid,
Right.
or sometimes longer. So that kind of adds the time frame. So if you have somebody in mind, or at least a couple people in mind that you're shopping through, I would say just get that in line up front so that once the offer is accepted, we can submit that bid and get that appraisal ordered right away.
Okay.
Yep.
I know you said it's underutilized here in Genesee County.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any success stories?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we had some buyers that again fits the whole bill. They were, they had a little bit lower credit and they, were getting outbid, and there was a lot of cash buyers in their price range, and they're just, they couldn't find anything. Well, they ended up the area they were looking, Oakland County, they ended up finding a very, very nice home and great school district, but the house needed a lot of work. It was an as is sale, and they ended up jumping into a ton of extra equity in the place. That was
Okay.
even before they even did the repairs. But after they did the repairs, I mean, this house was worth, I would say, anywhere from about 75,000 to $100,000 more than what they bought it for. And they're in a
Yeah.
great school district. The house fits their needs perfectly. It's really right on off the water. Like it was really like everything kind of fell into place. It was great to see it, and I was really happy for them.
Yeah, and they got all those updates that they need for their home.
Yeah, because think
Right off
about
the
it,
bat.
a house that is in a nice area with a good school district, if it's going to be move-in ready, like it's going to be a pretty expensive house probably in today's market. So
For
if we
sure.
can find something like this, kind of, a little bit of a shortcut there, it's definitely the way to go.
For sure. Sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really don't have any more questions.
There we go.
Is there anything else you wanted to share today?
No, I think obviously, like just to touch back on the biggest things, like this is a great loan. It's a loan to kind of shortcut yourself into getting into a great area, and really opens up some doors. So again, if you don't ever think like, hey, I probably don't qualify for this, you always want to get a hold of us. Get all your information over to us, and we'll get that to, hey, thumbs up. This is something that you can do, and obviously that's gonna get you out there and get you into a house.
For sure. Well, again, thank you so much, Kyle.
Yeah,
Gonna
absolutely.
see you next Tuesday if we're talking about it Tuesday on a new topic. I
There we
appreciate
go.
you today.
Can't wait.
Have a great one.
You too. Thanks, artist.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.